Dear students, I am Sobha Bansiwal, Assistant Professor English, SPC Government College Bhim. Today I am going to explain the poem My Last Duchess by Robert Browning. This poem is a dramatic monologue. Dramatic monologue is a poem in which a speaker speaks alone and there is a listener who listens what the speaker says. But the speaker through this poem expresses his own character and the character of others, and means he expresses his own thoughts and ideas, and as well as the ideas and thoughts of others. um, in this poem there is a duke, there is a 16th century Italian duke uh, who meets an envoy of a count whose daughter he is going to marry, and he takes this envoy to the portrait gallery at his home, and he shows him the picture of his own wife, and which the picture of his former wife or his last duchess. um, he expresses his own ideas and thoughts about his wife, but he unknowingly expresses his own character also through this poem, through this dramatic monologue. So in this poem the duke speaks to the envoy. He says, "That's my last duchess painted on the wall, looking as if she were alive. I call that piece a wonder now. Fra Pandolf's hands worked busily a day, and there she stands. Will it please you sit and look at her?" The duke points towards a portrait of his wife and tells the envoy that this picture is of his last duchess. The picture that is painted on the wall is a picture of his last duchess, and the picture looks as if his wife. The picture is so beautifully painted that it appears as if his wife is alive, or the picture appears alive. He calls this picture a piece of wonder, and he mentions the name of the painter who painted this picture. He mentions the name of the painter, who is Fra Pandolf. He purposely says that this picture was painted by Fra Pandolf in a single day, and he asked the envoy to sit and look at the picture. "I said, Fra Pandolf's by design, for never read strangers like you that pictured countenance, the depth and passion of its earnest glance. But to myself they turned, since none puts by the curtain I have drawn for you but I, and seemed as they would ask me if they durst, how such a glance came there. So not the first are you to turn and ask thus." Sir, it was not her husband's presence only called that spot of joy into the duchess' cheek. Perhaps Fra Pandolf's chance to say. Here the duke says that he mentions the name of the painter Fra Pandolf purposely, because there was a deep passion in the eyes of his wife, and whoever looked at the picture of his wife, they wanted to ask the duke how that intense look, that deep and passionate look came into the eyes of his wife. But no one had the dare to ask such a question to the duke. So the duke himself tells the envoy that he was not the first person to have such a desire to ask such a question to him, because whoever looked at the picture of his wife had a desire to ask this question to the Duke. He says that it was not only the presence of her husband, means it was not only his own presence that cold, that spot of joy, that happiness into the at or the dimple on the that it was not only his own presence that brought dimple on her on his wife's cheeks, but he says that it may be that Fra Pandolf uh, told his wife that uh, perhaps Fra Pandolf chanced to say her mantle laps over my lady's wrist too much, or paint must never hope to reproduce the faint half-lust that dies along her throat. Such stuff was courtesy, she thought, and cause enough for calling up that spot of joy. The Duke says that that spot of joy or happiness on came on his wife's cheeks just because the the painter Fra Pandolf might have appreciated his wife by telling her that the the mantle or cloak which she was wearing was hiding her wrist too much, uh, and or maybe he 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 said to her that the pant couldn't uh, present the her beauty in the pant in the it might be it may be that her the painter uh, appreciated his wife by telling her that it is impossible to paint her to paint it is impossible to present the beauty of the Duchess in through paint. So these words of these appreciation uh, of Fra Pandolf was only a courtesy, but his wife or Duchess took it seriously, and so they came a spot of joy or happiness on his cheeks and intense look in her eyes. She had a heart, how shall I say, too soon made glad, too easily impressed. She liked whatever she looked on, and her looks went everywhere. Sir, it was all one, my favour at her breast, and dropping off the daylight in the west, the bough of cherries, some officious fool broke in the orchard for her, the white mule she rode with round the terrace, all and each who drew from her alike the approving speech, or blush at least. Uh, in this stanza, the Duke feels uh, contemptuous at the nature of his wife. He says that how shall I say? He says that his wife's nature was his wife his wife's nature was too lenient. She could be impressed easily, she liked whatever she looked on. Uh, she liked whatever she looked on, and her looks went everywhere. It means he wants to say that his wife's nature was very she was very simpleton, and she was amiable, and she liked everything. He says that for his wife all were same. uh, she 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 took the gift of Duke, like the necklace gifted by by her husband or Duke. uh, she took his gifts um, in the same manner as he wants to say that everything and was equal to her. uh, his gifts to her, like necklace gifted by him uh, to her, uh, she she took it as equal to other things, um, such as sunset, and the bows of cherries gifted by some officious fool, or which was broken from some orchard, or white mule which she rode round the terrace, and all and each would draw from her alike the approving speech. In these lines, the Duke wants to say that the Duchess was the Duchess could be pleased easily. She liked everything, and she liked everything which she looked on, and she liked norm. She liked very common things, like she liked sunset, and uh, bows of cherries gifted by some officious fool, which is broken from orchard, or some white mule which she rode round the terrace. All these things drew from her uh, the the same approving speech. uh, these things made her appreciate these things, or blush, or make her smile. Uh, she thanked men good, but thanked somehow I know not how, as if she ranked my gift of a 900 years old name with anybody's gift. In these lines, the Duke says that his wife thanked all men, uh, but he could not tolerate the fact that she thanked him in the same manner. According to him, his wife, um, or his last Duchess, um, uh, took the gifts of other men equal to the gifts of the Duke. He Who would stoop to blame this sort of trifling, even had you skill in speech, which I have not, to make your will quite clear to such an one, and say just this or that, in you disgust me, here you miss, or there exceed the mark, and if she let herself be lessoned so, nor plainly set her wits to yours, forsooth, and made excuse, even then would be some stooping, and I choose never to stoop. In these lines, we see the proud nature of the Duke. The Duke says that even if the Duke says that could, if he told his wife, uh, or if he um, told his wife about the mistakes she was making, it was possibility that his wife could change her nature, uh, but he but he but he thought that it would be stooping, it would be below his dignity to ask his wife to change her nature or change her behavior. Uh, and I choose never to stoop. And the Duke uh, didn't want to go below his own dignity. So he said, "Oh, sir, she smiled, no doubt, whenever I passed her, but who passed without much the same smile?" He says that his wife used to smile at him, but she used to smile at other people in the same manner in which she used to smile at her. He wanted to say that there was no difference between his appreciation for the Duke and her appreciation for other people. According to him, his wife uh, did not appreciated him more than other people. This grew. I gave commands, and he could not tolerate his wife's this behavior, and he gave commands. He gave instructions to other people to murder his wife. So he says, "This grew. I gave commands. Then all smiles stopped together. There she stands as if alive. Will it please you rise? We will meet the company below." Then I repeat, the Count, then he asked uh, the envoy to rise and go below. He says, "I repeat, the Count, your master's non-munificence is ample warrant that no just pretense of mine for dowry will be disallowed. Though his fair daughter's self, as I owed at starting, is my object, nay, we will go together down." Here in these lines, the Duke uh, speaks about the dowry. This tells us about the greedy nature of the Duke. The Duke very manipulatively tells the envoy that his interest is not in dowry but in the daughter of the uh, Count. But he says that his Count is will not um, will not disagree with his demands of dowry, although his interest is in the daughter of the Count, not in his in his property. So he says, he asks about the dowry very manipulatively. "Nay, we will go together down, sir. Notice Neptune, though taming a sea horse, thought a rarity, which Claus of Innsbruck cast in bronze for me." Then he uh, points towards a statue which is cast in bronze. It is a statue of Neptune, which is a sea god and which is taming a sea horse, and it was made by Claus of Innsbruck. Uh, so he this art this art piece shows that the Duke was a lover of arts, and it shows the Renaissance character of the poem, in which people were interested in art, culture, and literature. So this poem expresses the character of the Duke as well as his wife, his last Duchess. The Duke in this poem is very cruel-hearted and very conceited and proud, and his wife is very simpleton and very amiable lady. Uh, uh, So this is a dramatic monologue. Uh, Thank you.